Welcome on into the Baseball Insiders on this beautiful Thursday. It's still beautiful, although the lights of the baseball sky have been dimmed a little bit. Pretty eventful 2 a.m. hour on the East Coast overnight, where we all learned that Shohei Ohtani, the prize of the game of baseball, as well as this year's upcoming free agency frenzy, has now been dinged by a torn UCL surgery. Still on the table. No determination there yet. But to break it all down, we've got our trustee, as always, Robert Murray, on with us today to talk about the complications, as well as have a little fun with some up-to-date power rankings. We were going to have more fun today before the world exploded, but we can do both.
Oh, well, we'll definitely have some fun, but I'll tell you that Shohei Ohtani injury is not fun. That I went to bed last night thinking it was going to be pretty uneventful. Was scrolling through Twitter, and all of a sudden, next thing I know, Perry Manassian ends up announcing that Shohei Ohtani has a torn UCL, and that threw a wrench in the Angels this season, which was already spiraling down, like just not good. And then you automatically think to what kind of impact it's going to have on his free agency. And I got plenty of insight on that. But Adam, always a pleasure to be here with you, my friend.
Yeah, we're going to get way into it real quick. Thanks for kicking it back. Before we get into the good stuff, and again, this was a huge week. We got Pete Alonso, Brewers rumors, the White Sox clean house. The Yankees GM Brian Cashman calls their season a disaster. So much meat on the bone even before the Shohei Ohtani news comes out, but that changes the calculus of our next several months of podcasts. This will not be the last time you hear from us on Ohtani, and this show is sponsored by DraftKings. The promo is Baseball Insider. If you have not signed up for DraftKings yet, if you're a new user and you sign up with that code Baseball Insider, you can receive $150 in bonus bets instantly after following just 3 steps. You can create an account, deposit some money in there, then wager your $5 or more on any sport. Whether your first wager wins or loses, you will still receive the $150 in bonus bets. All you have to do is use that code Baseball Insider at sign up. It gets you the bonus. It also supports the show. If you are considering signing up for DraftKings, use that code Baseball Insider to maximize your first bets. This offer is available for new customers who are 21 plus, physically present, legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Check the episode description for the full terms of the offer. And also, if you're interested in supporting the show in another way, you already got a DraftKings account, you want to figure out how to do it, become a member with us on YouTube. Join the Discord, just 99 cents a month. The offseason has begun for plenty of teams in August. It will begin in earnest for the rest of them in just a couple of months down the line. And if you're in there in the Discord room with us, with Robert and I first, you get to hear the chatter. You get to inspire the show. You get to keep the conversation going when we go off the air. That said, we appreciate everybody who's joined us today live on YouTube regardless. And, look, stuff keeps breaking minutes before we're going on air. Steven Strasburg has reportedly called it quits, got a press conference scheduled for September 9th. We'll pay proper tribute to him before we sign off, but obviously we have to start with as much Ohtani detail as we can get out. A lot of people wondering, shut down from pitching for the rest of the season, of course. We don't know if he needs a second Tommy John procedure, though it feels like teams are going to have to prepare for that to be the case. Masahiro Tanaka pitched through a partially torn UCL from 2014 to 2020. We don't know the extent of this tear. No one has seen the MRI. Something tells me that it might be a while before we learn the details, considering how tenuous his baseball future is at this point, with millions upon millions hanging in the balance. Let's just start from a baseline. This blows.
Oh, it does blow. It's not good. And for whatever it's worth, Ohtani is still going to continue to bat while he decides what to do, and also waits for the MRI results. That's according to Alden Gonzalez of ESPN. I have not independently confirmed that, but that's what Alden says, and he's very connected with that organization, so I trust him wholeheartedly. But as far as Ohtani, you see all these different things about what this means for his free agency, and a lot of it has been doomsday. and people saying it's costing him $100 to $200 million. I'm not ready to say that quite yet. I think Ohtani is still in line for at least $500 million. And my reasoning is this, is you look at Aaron Judge's contract from this past year, 9 years for $360 million. So that's $40 million a year. That is the absolute floor for Ohtani as a hitter. And Judge turned down significantly more elsewhere from the San Diego Padres, who offered him north, like a decent amount north of $400 million. I don't have the exact number, but I know it was north of 400. And Ohtani should at least get north of 400 million as a hitter. And if he does undergo Tommy John surgery and misses next year as a pitcher, obviously like it takes 1 year away from him as a pitcher under that contract. But he will be a pitcher. He will be a starting pitcher after that year. And maybe he doesn't end that contract as a starting pitcher. Maybe he can end up being an elite closer. Maybe he can end up being in a different role. And that's still extremely valuable. Obviously, having possibly undergoing 2 Tommy John surgeries is not great, but we've seen recent history of Nathan Eovaldi has bounced back. I know he's been dealing with injuries this year, but he was really effective with Texas. Looked like one of the better free agent deals of the offseason. Cole Ragans has been another one who has bounced back from that too. And there's been other pitchers as well. So I think, and Jameson Taillon is another one who's a pretty high-profile guy. So I think Ohtani is going to be okay. I am not worried about that at all as far as that contract. It may not get to the 600 million number that many people expected. Like that was a number that I heard a lot more buzz about in recent weeks and recent months. It's like it could possibly top 600 mil. I think maybe that takes that out of the equation, but it will absolutely be north of 500 million. I'm pretty confident about that.
Well, I am curious about a million things, obviously.
Yeah.
the future of Shohei Ohtani. I mean, Ken Rosenthal made a great point in his column this morning that a lot of people are sort of ruling out Ohtani the pitcher just because of the shock value of this, occurrence. But you're right. You just rattled off a list of names. I think Walker Buehler of the Dodgers is trying to come back from his second Tommy John right now, and people don't seem to be nearly as concerned. Like people are treating that like a formality, but they won't treat Ohtani the same way just because he is such a unicorn and he is due so much money and they are scared. But plenty of people have come back and pitched with that, second Tommy John limitation. Plenty of them have come back and looked great. Obviously, the percentage of people who've recovered from number 2 decreases based on the almost 100% success rate of people coming back from surgery number 1. But it's possible. So ruling out Ohtani the pitcher forever feels pretty premature at this point. And the offensive value is through the roof as long as he comes back and is Shohei Ohtani the number 1 offensive force in the game right now.
Yeah.
As a full-time DH, though. So does that change if he is maybe not a starting pitcher long-term? Do they look into first base? Can he play the outfield? Are there other options for Ohtani if, you don't want him clogging up the DH spot on a 10-year contract and not pitching for the better part of a decade?
Yeah, I think that's a very fair question. Is like you can look at him playing a different position in the field. You can look at him, as you said, first base. You can look in the outfield. And even if he does continue to pitch, like being creative, like later on in that contract becomes a very serious option. And like another reason too, like, cause he can play all those positions and he can play them effectively. But another reason or reasons why he'll end up getting that contract that people are kind of questioning right now is look at how marketable Shohei Ohtani is. Like you sign Ohtani, you instantly become more marketable. You have the most marketable player in baseball. You're going to end up selling a lot of ads behind home plate to Japanese companies. You're going to have when you sign him, you're going to sell out your season tickets just like that. Like he's that kind of player. He's a generational player. And I think a lot of these teams are certainly going to take that into account. There's so many reasons why he'll get that contract. I know the Tommy John surgery, if he undergoes Tommy John surgery, that obviously that's a huge damper. And that hurts, but he's going to have a long list of suitors. And as somebody told me earlier today, about an hour ago, if somebody bows out of the Shohei Ohtani sweepstakes now because of this, they're going to end up looking really dumb before too long.
Obviously, not something you want, a surgery that you don't want to hear floated.
Yeah.
But he, as an offensive player, it's usually very difficult for offensive players to just even get in the mindset of, I have to come back from Tommy John. Like, D. Gregorius took a while, Aaron Hicks. Like, it's a strange surgery for an offensive player to have to rehabilitate from. He's already done it. So he knows what it takes as a lefty slugger to bounce back from UCL reconstruction if he has to do it again. That is a slight advantage in this whole very difficult to parse out conundrum.
Oh, it absolutely does. And like the fact that he's going to have to deal with this and navigate it for a second time that's a really difficult thing. And like, that's never been done for, a hitter / pitcher. We've never seen, we've never seen that before in baseball. And it's just, there's a lot unknown, especially when it comes to that injury. But that being said, is that the market for Ohtani is going to be massive in the offseason. I don't think that changes anything. Maybe teams ask some different questions, but he'll be just fine. I'm telling you, I'm extremely curious to see where he ends up and what that number is going to look like. Because I'm thinking it starts with a 5. Just don't know how much further it goes, but yeah, I will say though, this injury definitely hurts baseball for the rest of this year. Not having Ohtani on the field, well, possibly not having Ohtani on the field as a pitcher and maybe even as a hitter once they determine what the next course of action is. That sucks.
Considering he's already probably cinched up that MVP too, it's going to be a very odd late August and September for a lot of us. Before we move along, just the natural next step is, all right, the floor is probably still pretty high for this contract, but you just mentioned the Padres, who we know were interested in Ohtani, had that $400+ million ready for Aaron Judge last year. Like, I don't know if this is going to lower the contract to the point where it becomes palatable for these teams that are lower tier or mid tier or stuck in the middle. But as obviously a burner is mentioning, I've got my eyes on the Angels now, the place where he is comfortable, the place he's already been. If he's going to undergo a rehab, does he open his eyes back to them if he hasn't been looking their way? The Padres obviously were always going to be involved. Do they pursue even heavier now that they know the Dodgers are going to be uncertain? The Dodgers thought, presumably, that Ohtani was the long-term solution at the top of their rotation. If he needs the procedure and Walker Buehler just got his second Tommy John, that's a lot of uncertainty for a team that is pretty careful about these kinds of things. So we don't know, and it's tough to project like, oh, man, his value's in the toilet now. The Brewers and Reds have to get in on Ohtani. Like, you can't go that far, but you'd have to think that the pool of teams opens up just a little bit beyond that absolute top tier where you and I for months have just been kind of going back and forth going, yeah, the Dodgers really want him. Like, now we have to consider alternative options.
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. I think there's going to be more teams that are going to be in on Ohtani or at least have a better shot at him. But that being said, it's like you made a really good point about the Dodgers, and especially with Walker Buehler coming back from his second Tommy John surgery. Do they want to have that risk in their rotation? Obviously, like the adding Ohtani to that lineup would be absolutely bonkers. I think that'd be just an extremely exciting thing, even with the torn UCL. That being said, like I still think it's going to end up being the big market teams that are ultimately going to end up being the ones that like are in. I still struggle to see the possibly like the fit between Ohtani and the Mets. I know with the Mets eyeing to compete in 2025, like that didn't really seem like a thing Ohtani would try to do, especially as he wants to win. He's made that abundantly clear. I still don't think that's going to end up being a fit. But if you look at the Dodgers, I think the team that kind of gets slept on here is the San Francisco Giants. That is a team that makes a whole lot of sense. They have plenty of money to spend. They tried for Carlos Correa and Aaron Judge last year, swung and missed. Got a lot of money left over. You can't rule them out. I will say this, Adam. I will say this. The Texas Rangers, they are loaded Well, they have a good amount of pitching. They have Scherzer. Jordan Montgomery is a free agent at the end of the year, but they have Nathan Eovaldi. They have other guys on their roster too. They can afford to take the risk of, well, I shouldn't say a risk. Well, there is always a risk in every deal, I should say, but they can afford to sign Ohtani, be patient with him, and have him sit on next year as a pitcher, but have him in the field as a hitter. I wonder, like that, to me, I think Texas is the sleeper for Ohtani. That's my guess. That's not sourced information or anything, but I think that is a team that makes a whole lot of sense, and that should be kept a very close eye on when it comes to Ohtani in the free agent market.
Obviously a burner. I was looking at the Rays a little bit too, but before you even chimed in on this, just knowing, hey, they were involved on Freddie Freeman. They wanted us all to know that. They were involved on the Ohtani deadline deal that never happened. They wanted us to know that. There's room. Yeah.
I will say this, because I'm glad you mentioned that Freeman or Freddie Freeman pursuit from the Rays a couple years ago. That I have had that independently confirmed was extremely legitimate. Like they were absolutely in on Freeman. That was not just some public smoke. That was a real thing.
Yeah. So potentially they're still looking for that opportunity to make that major play. It's only funny until it actually happens. Like, oh, the Rays aren't serious until they are. So you can't rule it out. And if they're going to be contending annually, maybe they finally want to make that all-in move at some point, and perhaps this Ohtani chase gives them the opportunity to do so. All I know for sure is, I mean, honestly, it's devastating news. It changes the calculus, but it makes the offseason a level or two or three more interesting than it did when it was, hey, this deal is going to be astronomical. The Dodgers want him. They're motivated. Let's just kick this to the finish line already. Now there are so many more factors at play.
Oh, there absolutely is. And I mean, Ohtani is going to dominate the offseason discussion. I mean, the hitting market is next to nothing, but you look at the pitching market and you have Ohtani. Well, I'll put Ohtani in there. You have Ohtani, you have Lucas Giolito, you have Jordan Montgomery, you have Jack Flaherty, you have Michael Lorenzen, you have a lot of these different guys. I'll tell you, there's a lot of talent on the pitching side, and obviously having Ohtani available, this is going to be probably one of the more fascinating off seasons, and I think could be the most fascinating one since what was it, the Garrett Cole or Steven Strasburg? Is that Strasburg and Cole are the same?
Yeah, 1-2, Cole, Strasburg, Rendon. Like the Nationals somehow had to make a tough call there, and it would have been wrong no matter what they'd done. Very, very fun offseason.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that was an interesting one. I believe that was a winter meetings in San Diego, and I was next to John Heyman for when he broke both of those signings. I was talking to him in the middle of the lobby. All of a sudden, he looked down at his phone and was like, "Oh." And I was like, "What do you got?" And he just didn't answer me. And then I got the tweet notification that Garrett Cole and Strasburg were going. And it was just like, whoa. And I'll tell you, I've had some pretty cool winter meetings experiences. That was definitely one of them up there. And he played it out nonchalant like the pro that John is.
Of course. And he'll do it again if he's able to break the big old Ohtani scoop this offseason. Man, this is not going to be the last episode that is dominated by Ohtani chatter, but we have a lot of fun stuff to wrap the show with before we, it's not all sad. It's not all bad. It's not all centered around one man. And I wanted to do I wanted to have some power rankings chat as we head into September. I pulled them together. I thought this was suggested last show. Felt like a fun exercise. Felt like the right time. Of course, the world exploded between then and now. But I still figured I'd pull it together. We'll pull it together again in September. We'll look at where we're at. We'll reevaluate when we have to. I am going to make an adjustment to my top 10 on the fly. And I apologize. Obviously, only Robert has seen these before going live. I'm only making one change, and I'll be transparent. I'll tell everyone what the change is. I had the Blue Jays ranked 10th. I'm booting them off. Now that I'm watching the Red Sox kick the Astros' ass today, Red Sox get the 10 spot. For me, doesn't necessarily mean I think they're a playoff team, but I do believe right now they belong in the conversation over the Blue Jays, who have not shown the offensive consistency that they claim they are capable of. And last night's loss to the Orioles was as feckless as it gets. So the Red Sox and Blue Jays both out of the playoff picture right now. I think the Red Sox deserve more plaudits than Toronto. After that, I go Milwaukee 9, Tampa Bay 8, the Houston Astros 7, and they are sliding after the way they've concluded this series. The Phillies 6, the Rangers 5, the red-hot Seattle Mariners 4, not holding yesterday's loss to the White Sox against them. The Orioles 3, the Dodgers 2, and the Atlanta Braves 1. Though, if you are listening to me list those off and you say, okay, great, but who do you think can actually win the World Series? I'm bumping the Phillies up over the Rangers, Mariners, and Orioles to the 3 spot. I'm sorry, but I'm actually not sorry.
I'm right there with you. I think in terms of your power rankings, I would have the Phillies and the Phillies and the Rangers flip-flopped. I think that's the only change that I would make. But I will say it is good to finally have you aboard the Philadelphia Phillies train. I know we both started there at the start of the year, but there was some obviously pretty shaky. But after, I'll tell you, the standing ovation, it changed the Phillies' juju, and especially Trey Turner's juju. That team has been completely different. I think the Phillies they're going to end up being the Braves' biggest competition in the National League, even over the Dodgers, even over the Brewers. I think the Phillies are a really scary team, and they are built to win in October. And it's going to be that to me. Oh man, I would not be surprised at all if the Phillies won the World Series. They have the feel. They have the feel.
I would not be shocked, and I also they're as the 4 seed right now in the wild card bracket. If they win that first little best 2 out of 3, they're probably going to get the Atlanta Braves in the first division series round again and have the opportunity to do to Atlanta exactly what they did to them last year. So that's, if you, I think you can't knock Atlanta off the pedestal as the number 1 team in Major League Baseball right now. But I'm not guaranteeing that they escape the first best of 5 round of the postseason this year.
No, I'll tell you, if they end up doing that same thing again to the Braves, where they knock them out in the first round like that, that would be, oh my goodness gracious, the poor Braves. Because I mean, you look at them right now, they're clearly the best team in baseball, right? I mean, yeah, and they end up doing that again and getting knocked out by the Phillies. Oh my goodness gracious. Obviously, a lot of time left before we get to that point. And things do happen, as we got to see yesterday with the Angels, who lost both Ohtani and Trout for the foreseeable future. Not great. Although, as I said before, Ohtani's still gonna bat, at least in the meantime. So we haven't seen the last of them yet. But man, oh man, the Phillies team I'm watching.
And I wanted to move the Astros up alongside them as the team that obviously isn't as good as the top 5 or 6 right now, but that you can't count out. I still can't kill them, but this Astros-Red Sox series gave us pretty much everything that we predicted it would on the Monday show. Like, opportunity for one of these teams to bury either the Astros to bury the Red Sox, or the Red Sox to make a real statement and go take 3 out of 4 or even sweep. The pitching matchups, I mean, Urquidy was starting one of these games, not exactly scorching hot. The Red Sox take the first one. Maybe they're able to flip the script and zoom up the standings. Hilariously, Sox take a 3-0 lead in the first game, the first inning of the first game, and you're like, here we go. They blow that. They lose that game. Astros run away 9-4. Verlander beats the Red Sox in the second game. Astros take the first 2. Suddenly the script is flipped. Astros take a 3-0 lead in the third game of the series, and they blow it. And today the Red Sox were up, when this podcast started, 11-0 in the third inning. So that's going to be a split. We're going to net out basically right where we were when we started, but each team took a little piece of the other one. Like, Astros fully had a chance to take control yesterday. They failed. Sox could have really established themselves. Instead, everybody kind of just treads water. Either way, that is a rivalry. That is give and take. That is a very interesting relationship between those two teams. And at the end of it, the Astros may not have, they shouldn't be embarrassed. They're not sliding out of the playoff picture quite yet, but they certainly didn't get my stamp of approval as like, yep, same old Astros. The Martin Maldonado talk did it. There's still some questions to be answered there.
There's still plenty of questions to be answered there, but I think you're exactly right, is that the Red Sox and Astros have a bigger rivalry feel than the Red Sox and Yankees do. And that is kind of a crazy thing to even say. But we're at the point now where the Yankees are bad enough that just doesn't feel like a rivalry right now. And I wonder if the tensions between those two teams could rise a little bit more, especially after Justin Verlander told Alex Cora to fuck off. Sorry for hopefully nobody's listening at work or at school.
Yeah, no children allowed on the stream. So
yeah, oops. Hopefully my folks aren't watching that. That wouldn't be very good. But you guys get the idea. That's going to end up being a very interesting matchup here to follow, especially the last 6 weeks of the season here for sure.
Yeah, the Astros are hardly a cinch. If they will lose today, right? Like that's over. And then when they do, it'll be 3.5 back. The Red Sox will be 3.5 back of both the Mariners and Astros, but it'll be 4 in the loss column of Seattle, who's not active today. Technically, they'll be closer to Houston. So there you go.
Yeah, there you go. And I obviously Burner says that he got fired from work because of my language. If that is indeed true, I'm very sorry. I'm hoping that's not true. That'd be a quick fire.
Yeah. So. If that was the case, I feel like he probably would have been fired for playing the podcast out loud at work. Like you could have said anything and he would have gotten canned regardless.
No, exactly. Well, that makes me feel better. So hopefully he didn't get canned.
No. Back to work for you. Everybody get focused, get back to work. Just a couple more fun squads to talk about before we sign off. The Milwaukee Brewers, I don't know who keeps leaking Mets rumors at inopportune times or at times when the Mets are maybe off the back pages for a couple of days. And then someone's like, let's put some more Mets rumors out there. Like we've been too quiet for a few days. Pete Alonso, we talked about his long-term future. We talked about the fact that he had not yet had the extension conversation in earnest with the Mets front office recently. Came out this week, the rumor that the Brewers pursued him pretty heavily at the deadline. Obviously, nothing materialized there, but are you hearing anything that confirms interest between those two sides?
Yeah, that was legit. The Brewers and Mets did have conversations that involved Pete Alonso possibly going to Milwaukee. And my sense is it never was like close. But the sides absolutely did discuss it. And I have it. It's really interesting here is the Brewers are usually extremely tight-lipped when it comes to in-house stuff. They treat everything like we're at Fort Knox basically. And that's a rumor that I had heard for quite a while, at least dating back to the trade deadline, that those two sides were talking. And the Mets have absolutely no reason to leak that. They have they traded away two of their biggest stars in Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander, and they have Pete Alonso, who's their homegrown star, and they obviously want to keep him happy, especially as they're going to attempt to extend him in the offseason. They have no reason to leak that. But the Brewers, on the other hand, the Mets have obviously been very connected to David Stearns, and you wonder if there was a reason why that went out. I don't know. That's just me spitballing. But I'll tell you that things that make you go, that's about as well as I can put that one.
Yeah, a little Windhorst meme action there. What?
Yeah, what is going on in Milwaukee and New York? Yeah, there we go. That's good. Hopefully it gets memed somewhere. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, if anybody can meme us, by the way, that would be great. Somebody already left an Apple Podcast review about my glasses. Really appreciate that. But if you could keep the meme, oh yeah, somebody said the best show as long as I wear my glasses, which again, it came with 5 stars, so can't argue with that. But slightly, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode, even though I literally didn't pack my glasses on this family vacation. Something that I was also asked about. My mom was like, "Did you even pack your glasses?" It was unrelated to the podcast. She was like, "Did you not even pack them?" I was like, I don't wear them that often, and it's true, I don't. But
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. That's what I can say.
I got the shades. I got some really low quality shades, so they don't serve the same purpose. But you guys are lucky I'm not wearing those.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that's when you would officially know you mean business. You always mean business, but if you rock the shades in the show, oh my goodness gracious.
Yeah. Well,
Oh, yeah.
maybe Monday. I'll be back home. So.
Ooh, now we're talking. Now
Yeah.
we're talking.
One final thing that it's been 30 again. We could have led off any other show with this, but we decided it's Ohtani Day. Like we don't make the decisions. The man makes the decisions for us. The White Sox cleaned house earlier this week. Rick gone. Kenny Williams also out. The winds are blowing in a number of different directions. And this question was asked early in the show. Of course, we were going to have to get to this. I don't know how we couldn't get to this. Obviously, Bernie, I actually have no idea what my vision is, so not great for me. But Kenny Williams, Rick Hahn gone. You got to wonder if a new era is going to start or if the next man in charge of the Chicago White Sox operation is internal. Are you hearing anything about what they're targeting, which direction they're planning on going? I mean, these guys had to go, but who replaces them, and can we really believe in change here?
Yeah, I'll tell you, with the White Sox, them firing Rick Hahn and Kenny Williams in season caught me off guard just from the timing standpoint. Is those guys had been there long enough that I thought ownership there would end up like giving them the entire season, then firing them after the season was over. Yeah. But clearly Jerry Reinsdorf thought now was the time to make a move, and they want to make a new hire and have a new general manager in place before the end of the season. And Bob Nightingale of USA Today, who is extremely well connected with the Chicago White Sox, said that Chris Getz, who is currently in their organization, a former player, is the favorite to be their general manager. And Dayton Moore, who is the former Kansas City Royals' general manager, and now with the Texas Rangers as a senior advisor, would join him in Chicago. That I have absolutely no reason to doubt Bob, especially considering how good his sourcing is in Chicago. But you wonder, and Jerry Reinsdorf clearly wants to win, and he has clearly shown that he likes to have experienced guys. And you look at his hire of Tony La Russa. That was about as out there as you could possibly imagine, but he had a relationship with La Russa. He likes veteran guys, and that's clearly led to speculation about David Stearns and like Theo Epstein. That is very, 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 very likely not going to happen with either one of those guys. I think a guy like James Click makes a lot of sense there, formerly of the Astros, of course. If they don't want to go with an experienced guy, I think Steve Sanders of the Pirates makes a whole lot of sense. He's went to school at Northwestern, considered a very up and coming executive. I don't know if he'll be a candidate there, but he's somebody that a lot of teams think very highly of, and a lot of people who worked around him think extremely highly of him. And I will tell you, Adam, let's say Jerry Reinsdorf does it again. Let's say he goes completely just out of the blue, goes for an experienced executive. I wonder if a guy like Brian Sabean, formerly of the Giants, who was the architect of their championship teams, could be an option. I have not heard anything from the White Sox about that, but my industry buzz is that Sabean would like to run a team again. I've heard that from multiple people, and you wonder if he wants an experienced guy, could he possibly go to Sabean? You never know. I would call it pretty unlikely. But with Reinsdorf, we could never count anything out. But as of right now, at least from Nightingale's reporting, it sure looks like it's Chris Getz's job to lose.
Well, Sabean currently relearning the winning mindset in the New York Yankees front office under Brian Cashman. So he's definitely get his training wheels off this year, and then maybe he'll go to Chicago, be able to show all the cutting edge things he's learned under the Cash God this year.
Poor Yankees. What a bad year that has been. Holy smokes.
Don't worry. Tommy Kahnle just blew today's matinee against the Washington Nationals. The Yankees lost 6-5. They have not won a series against the not Royals in 2+ months. So things are going just fine in New York. Honestly, would you rather be the Yankees or the White Sox? Probably the Yankees because they're the Yankees, but it's pretty close.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that season's about as been a big of a disaster as you could ever envision for the Yankees. I know we've said that a lot on the show, but what the heck?
We'll keep saying it though. I mean, we'll just continue to say it. It's
that maybe we close every episode with that until the season's over. It's just colossal failure of a season, and that is putting it lightly.
Swing and a miss, but not today's episode of the Baseball Insiders. I would call today a swing and some pretty solid contact. Got a lot to go through, and we got through it with ease, but we would not have been able to without you folks in the comments, egging us on, giving us motivation, helping us out, keeping us on topic most of the time. Occasionally, we just start talking about my vision and how well I see. But other than that, you guys keep us on task really well. DraftKings, again, is today's promo. Baseball Insider is the code. If you have not signed up for DraftKings yet, the full details of what you'll be able to get are in the description of this episode. Make sure that you are legal. You don't have to feel bad for the Yankees, and you shouldn't. I'm having a bad time. That's all. It's all good. The Discord is the place to find us in between episodes. We will be there. If you are not a member yet, we highly encourage you become one so that you have access to both Robert and myself. But who are we kidding? You probably want to go talk to Robert. You can ask me questions too.
Talk to all of us. Yeah, talk to all of us. I'll tell you, I always enjoy the Discord, especially the conversations that we have with Adam, with all you guys who are in there. I know there's people who have even messaged me privately, and they have been asking me different baseball questions. I've been happy to answer them. So if you guys want to do that too, sign up for the Discord. I'll answer your questions exclusively or in the chat or whatever. Good baseball talk. So please do that, because that puts food on my table. It allows me to eat, which I'm going to do after this podcast because I am starving.
Yeah, I'm going out to the beach. It's my last day. My job is beach for one more day. I exit tomorrow. It's all good. Again, don't feel bad for me. Summer's fun. It's fun to be in the summertime. It's been a good week. The Yankees don't define me anymore. I talked to my therapist about it. But Robert Murray, we would not be able to do this show without you, of course. The chat, everybody, you're all essential. Joanne, your production is essential. We got through a biggie today, and we'll be back Monday in full force. Hopefully, the newsmakers provide us more, because, I can't get enough of this early offseason stuff.
Yeah, me too. Although I wish the news was a little bit better about Ohtani, but great show today. Appreciate everybody for watching, by the way. It means a lot. We'll have plenty for you on Monday when we do this again. But Adam, thank you very, very much, good sir. As you like to say, and I'll say it for you, the show is not possible without you and Joanne. So thank you guys.
It's true. We all make the show. Some of us, really actually make the show, Joanne, but we can't make the show without any of the elements goes into it. Stay with us next week. We'll have some guests for you coming up, hopefully, so stay tuned for that as well. Join us in that Discord. Keep the conversation going until next week's live episode. We will see you then. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.